Before his death, Rob Reiner revealed the 6 actors he hates most. On a quiet afternoon in one of Hollywood's richest neighborhoods, police sirens shattered the silence. Legendary director Rob Reiner was found dead inside his own home. No will. No final interview. Just one thing left behind on his desk, an old voice recorder, still blinking red. Inside it? 6 names. 6 of the most powerful actors in Hollywood. And a confession so explosive, it may have signed his death warrant. Was Rob Reiner killed by a broken family? Or did he die because he dared to expose the monsters behind the movie stars? This isn't gossip. This is motive. And this is the list he never meant the world to hear. Bruce Willis, the man who killed emotion. Rob Reiner didn't say the name with anger. He said it the way a man says the name of a friend who betrayed him quietly and never apologized. Bruce Willis. The room was dim. Heavy curtains blocked the California sun, as if Rob didn't want light anymore. He sat alone, older now, lungs struggling, hands trembling slightly, not from fear, but from memory. The memory of the moment he realized something sacred had died on his set. In 1999, Rob Reiner believed in something dangerous. He believed an action hero could feel. The story of Us wasn't meant to be a movie. It was a confession. A surgical dissection of marriage, regret, love decaying in slow motion. Michelle Pfeiffer came prepared to bleed emotionally on camera. She arrived every day ready to cry, ready to break, ready to be human. Bruce Willis arrived to survive the shoot. From the first day, Rob sensed it. Bruce didn't walk onto the set like an actor. He walked in like a man waiting for his paycheck to clear. Rob tried to reach him, not with authority, but with passion. He talked about vulnerability, about emotional nakedness, about how love doesn't die loudly, but quietly, painfully, while 2 people sit in the same room pretending everything is fine. Bruce stared back with empty eyes. To him, acting was mechanical. Hit the mark. Say the line. Don't feel too much. Every direction Rob gave was met with a sigh. An eye roll. A smirk that said, "This isn't Die Hard. Why am I here?" Night after night, Rob locked himself in the editing room, desperately searching through miles of footage, praying to find just one moment, one crack in the armor. Something real. Something alive. He found nothing. Bruce wasn't playing a man losing his marriage. He was playing Bruce Willis, bored. The breaking point came during the film's emotional climax. The scene where a man is supposed to confess his fear of losing the woman he loves. Rob asked him to cry. To scream. To show weakness, just once. Bruce didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He simply said, "I don't do that." Not, "I can't." I don't. In that moment, Rob realized the truth. Bruce Willis didn't hate the role. He hated vulnerability. And worse, he didn't respect it. Rob compromised. He had no choice. Contracts, producers, money, chains disguised as professionalism. He stitched scenes together with music. Let Michelle Pfeiffer carry the emotional weight of 2 people. Let silence and editing hide the absence of a soul. But something irreversible happened. Rob Reiner, known for kindness, patience, empathy, felt rage he had never known. Not explosive rage. Cold rage. The kind that settles in your chest and poisons your love for what you once worshipped. Bruce didn't just ruin a performance. He violated Rob's belief that cinema was sacred. "To me," Rob whispered into the recorder, "film is a cathedral. Emotion is the religion." Bruce saw it as an ATM. He walked away richer, unchanged, untouched. Rob walked away altered forever. After that movie, Rob Reiner never trusted action stars again. Because Bruce Willis taught him a brutal lesson. Some people don't act because they're afraid to feel. And when those people wear fame like armor, they don't just kill characters. They kill joy. James Caan. The beast that couldn't be caged. Rob Reiner took a breath before saying the second name. Not because he was afraid, but because his body remembered the tension before his mind did. James Caan. If Bruce Willis was emptiness, James Caan was excess. Too much energy. Too much ego. Too much violence simmering just beneath the skin. Misery was supposed to be controlled terror. Claustrophobic. Psychological. Quietly suffocating. Rob Reiner made a fatal miscalculation when he cast James Caan. He took one of Hollywood's wildest animals, Sonny Corleone himself, and chained him to a bed. For 3 months. From the first day, the set felt wrong. The cabin was small. Artificial snow pressed against the windows. Silence was essential. Stillness was the language of fear. The character of Paul Sheldon was broken, helpless, trapped inside his own body. James Caan hated every second of it. He arrived restless, pacing like a predator with nowhere to run. He didn't bring calm focus to the set. He brought last night's whiskey on his breath and the attitude of a man insulted by the very idea of restraint. James wasn't a bad actor. That was the problem. He was an actor addicted to motion, to fists, to explosions of dominance. Acting with only his eyes, while lying still, felt to him like suffocation. And instead of turning inward, he lashed outward. Every morning felt like defusing a bomb. James mocked the script, mocked Rob's precision, mocked the idea that terror could be subtle. He cracked vulgar jokes seconds before action. Argued over lines not because they were wrong, but because he was bored. Rob wanted internal horror. James wanted to fight his way out. Behind the monitor, Rob watched scenes collapse in real time. A yawn during an emotional beat. An eye roll when Rob explained character psychology. Contempt disguised as impatience. And then there was Kathy Bates. Prepared, focused, professional to her core. The contrast made everything worse. While Kathy built a terrifying psychological presence, carefully, methodically, James tapped his foot, cracked jokes, called her too serious. Called Rob a control freak. Turned a disciplined set into a playground for his restlessness. What broke Rob wasn't the chaos. It was the ingratitude. Misery was a gift. A chance for James Caan to prove depth beyond violence. A role that could resurrect a career drifting into repetition. James treated it like a prison sentence. During the infamous hobbling scene, the tension finally snapped. James complained non-stop about the pain, the position, the repetition, until Rob had to walk off set, into the artificial cold, just to stop himself from doing something unforgivable. He couldn't fire him. So every day became negotiation. Threat. Begging. Please, Rob found himself saying, just act. When filming ended, James left without a word. No handshake. No thanks. The film exploded. Critical acclaim. Awards. Kathy Bates won an Oscar. James Caan was praised for his raw realism. Rob Reiner knew the truth. That pain on screen wasn't performance. It was irritation. The despair wasn't crafted. It was genuine anger at being forced to stay still. In the editing room, Rob stitched together rare moments of focus, creating the illusion of discipline from fragments of rebellion. Cinema saved what professionalism failed to deliver. James Caan didn't just fight the role. He fought the director. And in doing so, he taught Rob another brutal truth. Some actors don't fear emotion. They fear silence. Because silence forces them to face themselves. Rob Reiner leaned back, exhausted. 2 names down. And the next one didn't roar. He didn't rebel. He didn't resist direction. He ruled. Jack Nicholson, the tyrant crowned by talent. Rob Reiner straightened his back before saying the 3rd name. Not out of habit. Out of instinct. Jack Nicholson. This hatred was different. Bruce Willis disappointed him. James Caan exhausted him. Jack Nicholson diminished him. On the set of A Few Good Men, Rob Reiner was the director in title only. In spirit, in gravity, in power, he was standing in the presence of a monarch who had ruled Hollywood for 3 decades. Jack didn't arrive loud. He arrived inevitable. 10 days. That was all Jack needed. 10 days at $500,000 per day. Every morning Jack walked onto set, Rob didn't see a man. He saw a ticking clock hovering above his own head. Every second cost more than most people earned in a year. Every mistake felt like career suicide. Jack knew his lines. Knew the camera. Knew exactly how much air to suck out of a room without raising his voice. When Jack sat in Colonel Jessup's chair, The set went silent. Not because anyone told them to be quiet, but because no one dared to breathe. He didn't act authority. He radiated it. Crew members froze. Actors shrank. Even Rob, whose name was above the title, felt suddenly numb. Rob had directed legends before. But Jack was different. Jack didn't need direction. And worse, he made Rob feel like direction was unnecessary. Every suggestion Rob gave sounded redundant the moment it left his mouth. Jack already knew. Jack was already there. That was the torture. During the famous courtroom confrontation, Rob wanted perfection. He wanted coverage, angles, reactions. He wanted to sculpt the moment from every possible perspective. Jack delivered again and again and again. Each take was flawless. Each explosion of rage fully formed, surgically precise. Jack gave everything, too much, too perfectly. And then he'd turn, look at Rob through dark lenses, and say nothing. The look did all the talking. Are you sure you know what you're doing? Or are you just burning my time? Rob began to doubt himself. Not abstract doubt, existential doubt. The kind that creeps in late at night and whispers that you were never meant to sit in this chair. Jack never raised his voice. He didn't need to. Between takes, he held court. Cigars. Jokes. Laughter erupting around him like gravity pulling everyone into orbit. The crew adored him. Worshipped him. Rob stood at the edge of that circle, excluded, invisible on his own set. He hated Jack's charisma. He hated how effortlessly Jack controlled emotion, respect, fear. To Rob, Jack wasn't a collaborator. He was a force of nature. A lion lying calmly in the living room, never attacking, never threatening, yet constantly reminding you that he could tear you apart if he wanted to. When the film premiered, Rob's fear was confirmed. The applause belonged to Jack. The headlines belonged to Jack. The iconic line became Jack's legacy. A Few Good Men was remembered as a Jack Nicholson film. Rob Reiner watched from the shadows, applause echoing like mockery. He had poured his soul into the structure, the pacing, the vision, but Jack had claimed ownership with sheer brilliance. Jack didn't steal the movie. He eclipsed it. That was the extortion. Not money. Not ego. But talent so overwhelming it left no room for anyone else to exist. Rob Reiner hated Jack Nicholson because Jack forced him to confront a truth no artist wants to face. You can do everything right, and still be remembered as second place. Jack Nicholson didn't need to destroy Rob. He just stood there, perfect, undeniable, and let Rob disappear in the shadow of greatness. Rob exhaled slowly. 3 names spoken. 3 wounds reopened. The next one wouldn't dominate with silence or power. The next one would never stop talking. Richard Dreyfuss, the man who drained the room. Rob Reiner didn't lean forward this time. He leaned back. Both hands rose to his temples, fingers pressing as if trying to hold his skull together. When he said the 4th name, it came out with a dry laugh. Not humor, but disbelief that the exhaustion still lived inside him after all these years. Richard Dreyfuss. If Jack Nicholson ruled through gravity, Richard ruled through noise. Endless. Relentless. Suffocating noise. To the audience, Richard Dreyfuss was intelligence incarnate. Verbose. Passionate. A man who sounded like he always knew exactly what he was talking about. On screen, he felt alive. Off screen, to Rob Reiner, he was an open faucet that never shut off. Their first real test came in 1986, during Stand By Me. Richard's role was simple, almost insultingly so. He wasn't even physically present in most of the film. He was the voice of memory. A narrator. A grown man looking back on childhood with quiet reverence. All he had to do was sit. Remember, Richard couldn't do silence. Every recording session turned into an interrogation. He questioned commas, argued about pauses, debated the psychology of a man remembering his 12-year-old self. He talked through every moment that should have been empty. Rob wanted space. Richard filled it. Silence terrified him. Rob learned quickly that Richard didn't speak to communicate. He spoke to survive. Every gap in conversation felt to him like a threat. If he wasn't talking, he was disappearing. Working with Richard was like babysitting a hyperactive mind that refused to slow down. He hijacked focus, hijacked meetings, hijacked the emotional temperature of the room. But Rob endured. He always did. Nearly a decade later, the true torture began on the American president. On screen, Richard played the most powerful man in the world. Confident, measured, commanding. The moment Rob yelled, "Cut," that president collapsed into a storm of insecurity. Richard paced, sweated, panicked. After every take, he clung to Rob like a drowning man. "Was that okay? Did I look stupid? Why didn't you laugh? Should we do it again?" 50 times a day. Rob wasn't just directing a movie anymore. He was managing anxiety, performing emotional triage. While carrying the weight of a massive production, Rob found himself reassuring a grown man that he was, in fact, talented. Over and over, day after day. Richard's neurosis infected the set. Crew members tiptoed around his moods. Momentum died in endless discussion. Every decision became a debate Richard needed to win, not because he was right, but because he needed to feel important. What Rob hated most wasn't the insecurity. It was the performance of intellect. Richard loved sounding smart, quoting books, offering opinions on everything: politics, lighting, blocking, pacing. He spoke as if brilliance lived in volume. Rob saw through it. Beneath the verbosity was fear. Fear of failure. Fear of pressure. Fear of being exposed as human. So Richard drowned the room in words. There was a moment Rob never forgot. A crucial speech scene. Everything was ready. Emotion aligned. Cameras rolling. Richard stopped the take. The tie felt wrong. The light was off. A noise existed somewhere far beyond the set. Anything, to avoid the moment. Rob smiled. Inside, he was screaming. When the film finally wrapped, Rob felt like he had escaped an institution. Not because Richard was cruel, but because he was exhausting. Draining. A man who demanded constant emotional oxygen from everyone around him. Rob Reiner learned another lesson that year. Some people don't dominate with power. They dominate with need. And need, unchecked, can be just as destructive. Rob set the memory aside. For names now hung in the air like ghosts. But the next one didn't torture him with noise, or ego, or authority. The next one terrified him because he believed pain was truth, and he was willing to bleed for it. Mandy Patinkin, the man who turned pain into a weapon. Rob Reiner's voice dropped when he spoke the fifth name. Not in anger, not in exhaustion, in unease. Mandy Patinkin. If Richard Dreyfuss drowned the room in noise, Mandy Patinkin suffocated it with silence. A silence so heavy it felt ceremonial, funereal, as if joy itself had been politely asked to leave the set. The Princess Bride was never meant to be serious. It was supposed to be light, playful, a fairy tale told with a wink, a film that laughed at itself while inviting the audience to dream. Rob wanted warmth, color, ease. Mandy arrived like he was preparing for a funeral. He trained relentlessly, not to look convincing, but to become lethal. Swordplay wasn't choreography to him. It was ritual, identity, devotion. He stalked the set with eyes locked somewhere far beyond the present moment, lips moving in a whisper only he could hear. "You killed my father." Over and over, thousands of times a day. Between takes, Mandy didn't joke, didn't relax, didn't break character. While the rest of the cast laughed and teased, Mandy stayed coiled, brooding, locked inside a private universe of grief and vengeance. Rob tried to lighten the mood, tried to remind him it was a fairy tale. Mandy didn't hear it, because to Mandy, Inigo Montoya wasn't a role. It was a conduit, a doorway. What Rob didn't know at first, what no one knew, was that Mandy had just lost his father to cancer. And instead of stepping away, instead of healing, Mandy decided to dig deeper, to bleed on command, to use the camera as confession. The set changed after that. Scenes stopped feeling performed. They felt exorcised. During the final duel with Count Ruggin, Rob expected swashbuckling triumph. What he witnessed instead made his blood run cold. When Mandy drove the sword forward and screamed, "I want my father back, you son of a bitch," that wasn't in the script. That wasn't acting. That was a man screaming into the void, begging the dead to answer. Through the monitor, Rob saw Mandy's eyes roll back. Tears mixed with sweat. The body trembling not from exertion, but from emotional rupture. The crew froze. No one moved. No one spoke. Rob didn't call cut immediately, not because he wanted the take, but because he didn't know if Mandy would come back if he did. It was too real, too raw, too dangerous. Rob felt like an accomplice. Like he was filming something sacred and private that should never be exposed to an audience expecting laughter and adventure. He felt guilt. Responsibility. After that day, Rob slept poorly. He began to fear method actors, not because they lacked discipline, but because they lacked boundaries. Mandy had crossed into a place Rob had never dared to go, and worse, he didn't seem to know how to return. Mandy's performance was brilliant, unforgettable, a cultural icon. But brilliance came at a cost. The crew carried his exhaustion. The weight of his grief pressed into every corner of the set. Working with Mandy was like standing too close to a fire, mesmerizing, beautiful, and certain to burn you. Rob Reiner learned one final lesson before the list ended. Some artists don't pretend pain. They relive it. And when art demands that kind of sacrifice, someone always pays the price. Rob fell silent. Only one name remained. This one didn't frighten him, didn't anger him, didn't exhaust him. This one shaped him and broke him. Carroll O'Connor, the shadow that never left. When Rob Reiner spoke the final name, the room changed. There was no bitterness in his voice. No anger. No fear. Only something heavier. Carroll O'Connor. Rob didn't sit upright this time. He slumped. His shoulders sagged under a weight no age could explain. His fingers traced the edge of an old, frayed photograph on the desk. Two men sitting side by side. One older, broad, immovable. The other younger, thinner, trying not to disappear. Carroll O'Connor wasn't a storm Rob survived. He was the climate Rob grew up in. On the set of All in the Family in the 1970s, Carroll didn't just play Archie Bunker. He was Archie Bunker. The set wasn't collaborative, it was a kingdom. Writers, directors, actors, all rotated around Carroll's gravity. Including Rob. Every Monday table read felt like a trial. Carroll sat rigid, red pen in hand, slicing through scripts with surgical cruelty. Lines were questioned. Words rejected. Scenes dismantled. Production halted until everything bent to his will. Rob was young, hungry, talented, and invisible. On screen, America saw Mike Stivic standing toe-to-toe with Archie Bunker, arguing politics, values, morality. Behind the scenes, Rob Reiner felt swallowed whole. Carroll dominated every frame, every moment, every breath of attention. Rob wasn't a co-star. He was contrast. The audience didn't remember Rob Reiner. They remembered Meathead. That nickname followed him everywhere. On the street. In interviews. In rooms where people spoke to him like a punchline instead of a man. Carroll's shadow was so vast it erased Rob's name. Rob hated Carroll for that. He hated how his entire day depended on Carroll's mood. If Carroll was pleased, the set was heaven. If he was furious, it became hell. Rob learned to read micro-expressions, to anticipate eruptions, to shrink when necessary. But hatred wasn't the whole truth. Because Carroll also taught him everything. Perfection. Discipline. Obsession with craft. The loneliness that comes with greatness. Carroll was a brutal teacher. One who never softened the lesson, never offered reassurance. Not good enough, kid. Do it again. That voice followed Rob long after he left the show. It followed him into directing. Into When Harry Met Sally. Into Misery. Into A Few Good Men. Every time Rob sat behind the monitor, Carroll sat there too, watching, judging, demanding more. Rob quit acting to escape Carroll. Ironically, he became Carroll. He became the man in control. The man shaping worlds. And still, the shadow remained. Rob realized too late that Carroll O'Connor wasn't his enemy. He was his sentence. The man who made him feel small and forced him to grow. Rob loved Carroll for forging him. He hated Carroll for never letting him feel enough. 6 names. 6 lessons: laziness, chaos, power, madness, and the shadow of a giant. Rob Reiner didn't record that list to destroy anyone. He recorded it to free himself. The room fell silent. The recorder kept spinning. Outside, the sun vanished completely. Darkness filled the space where memory had lived. No one knows if that confession cost Rob Reiner his life. But one thing is certain. In Hollywood, the most dangerous thing you can expose is the truth behind greatness. 6 names, 6 secrets, and 1 death that still doesn't add up. Was this just the confession of a bitter old man, or the reason he was silenced? Tell us your theory in the comments. Subscribe, because in Hollywood, no truth comes without blood.